Baseball shifts. We saw where Bryce Harper the other day in New York thought he had a base hit, ended up hitting into a double play and frustrated, didn't run out the ball.
Right.
You know, we've seen these shifts now. Is there anything the commissioner can do, wants to do, will do with these baseball shifts?
Well, I think it's a broader issue than shifts. The way that I think about it is this, Dan. You know, the new thinking in the game, the use of analytics, have produced organic change in the game. And I think that it is pretty clear that the owners want to have a conversation about whether we need to be more proactive in terms of rule changes in managing what is happening organically. So shifts, just one example. I don't mean to single that out. There are other issues out there, but, you know, is it time? We understand why people are doing it. We understand that, you know, it provides an advantage. But is it time that we adopt a rule that limits the use of them? I mean, it has been just an astounding change. I think in less than 10 years, we've gone from 2,400 pitches a year where you see a shift to over 36,000 this year.
But how could you limit it?
Well, you'd limit it by, I mean, the easiest way, been a bunch of suggestions, 2 defenders each side of the second base bag, maybe make sure that the infielders all have to have at least 1 foot on the dirt. There's a variety of things that you could do.
Maybe a dog fence where there's only so far they could go, and then they get jolted. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't want to be intrusive. You don't want to be in a position where you're changing what we regard to be the greatest game in the world, with or without the issues surrounding shifts and other things. We think it's a great game on the field. By the same token, it has changed, and it's important. I think it's incumbent upon us to talk about that change and decide, if and when it's appropriate to interfere.
What other rule changes do you see on the horizon?
Well, the things that people are talking about, and that's different than do I foresee a change. I think the other one that people talk a lot about is the use of relief pitchers, and it does have a lot of effects, right? If starters go a shorter period of time, that affects the way they pitch during that shorter period of time, right? All-out effort. Frankly, it affects the marketing of the game, right? The individual player most prevalent in a broadcast is a starting pitcher. If he's out there less, that changes, the star power of that individual pitcher. So you have to think about all those issues. And then the toughest one when you change a rule in baseball is to figure out what the rule change is going to do. What's the effect of that change? So take shifts, right? Assume, that was a huge change. People start shifting a lot. What everybody said, you go back and look is, this is not a big deal, right? Because the hitter's just going to go the other way. The hitters are going to adjust. They're great athletes, and they'll just go the other way. Well, they were right about 2 parts. The hitters will adjust. They are great athletes. But the adjustment was different than what everybody expected. Yeah. Instead of going the other way, they decided to go up and over. And why'd they do that? Because what the analytics told them is even the discounted opportunity to get a home run, doesn't happen as frequently, is more valuable than that hit going the other way in terms of actually winning a game. So you got to think through what's going to happen. And I got we were talking about this before we came on the air, when you haven't played at that level, you have to have former managers with major league experience around you to help you try to think through what is a really unpredictable outcome.
The DH. If I said you could make the decision right now.
Yeah, I'd leave it alone.
You don't want it in the National League?
No, the reason I want to leave it alone is it gives everybody who interviews me something to ask about that's relatively easy to deal with. I
mean, you like the team?
I mean, I just
for you.
Yeah, it's easy. That's really not the truth. The truth is,
it feels like it's coming.
I don't really agree with that. I think that.
Well, you would know better than I, but it felt like it was coming because there's more offense.
Yeah, but if you look at the 2 leagues, I don't think people see the DH to the extent that we have an issue with offense. If that's your issue, if you look at the 2 leagues, I'm not sure that you would reach the conclusion that the DH is your answer.
And I can keep stars in they can be around
There's
longer
value.
too.
Look, there's value in that. Although, the DH has changed a little bit, right? I mean, years ago, the Dave Winfields, the Don Baylors, we kept those veteran guys around. They're different kinds of players now. If you look at who the teams are using as their DHs, it's a little different than it was. I think that it's a good thing for the game to have that debate, number one. Number two, extinction is a bad word. Right? I mean, it's just sort of a word you want to stay away from.
Sounds final.
It's harsh, there's something about it.
Yeah.
And, if the National League drops the DH, that form of baseball becomes extinct. Or adopts
it.
Yeah, I said drops, I meant adopts. But if they adopt it, the pure form of baseball that's played in the National League becomes extinct. And I think there'd be some reluctance.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.